How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. Super excited to have you guys back today. Happy Monday, dead week before we all go home and enjoy the holidays. So today we've got a really fun guest for you guys. Charles Parker is a higher education leader and the CMO of Keiser University, where he focuses on student success, career-driven education, and preparing graduates for today's evolving workforce. He has experience navigating the intersection of academics, industry, innovation, and he's really passionate about helping students turn education into real world opportunities, which I think we desperately need as the job market changes before our very eyes. And those that are the most impacted are probably the kids that are coming out of school right now. So, Charles, thanks so much. Really excited to have you on. And Charles is also a podcast host and a podcast producer there at the university. So we're going to have a lot of fun today, I have a feeling.
It'll be good.
So, Charles, let's just maybe start with your bio. So, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And what got you into educational marketing or marketing the university system?
Such a good question. So grew up in DC, Washington, DC area. So Georgetown area, if you know where that's at, just outside.
Yeah, for sure. Of course.
Good times out there, Old Town. Got some good scenery, good bars, good food. A lot of good
Georgetown, right?
That's right. So grew up out there. Went to school actually in the state of Utah at Weber State University. It's where I did my undergrad. Purple and white. Go Wildcats. They're 2A, Division I 2A school.
Nice.
And then I went to University of Utah. I was actually in law school and dropped out.
Okay.
So I'm a law school dropout. Really love it. I don't have any regrets, though, not finishing it. And kind of fell into this, man. Kind of interesting story. It made me think back. When I graduated, I went to go work for Dean Witter, Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, if you remember those guys.
Yeah, of course.
Sears and Roebuck guys, like, you know, those suits, no patches on the elbows, but still suits, and worked for them on their private label side. So they did Office Max, Office Depot, Staples, and they owned the cards back then. So it's kind of doing that role for a little bit and working with them. And I had a boss tell me, you're terrible at this. You're just not good at it. And at that time, if you remember Microsoft, Novell, Lotus, for you old cats that are out there, they were doing certification training. So I saw an ad and I was like, what is this all about? So I jumped on, which was MCSE at that time. I think Novell was C&E. Again, living out in Utah, so Novell was out there. WordPerfect, if you remember those guys.
Oh yeah.
So I started doing certification training and subsequently started my own company. And when I started the company, I didn't have any experience, but University of Phoenix was really big and had a big footprint. So I rented classroom space from them so that I could do training classes in the cert world throughout the US. So did that for a couple of years. And then I sold it to my partner and worked for University of Phoenix. And then they showed me everything. But they told me everything I did wrong, which I should have done right and should have stayed not W-2'd, but stayed self-employed. Worked for Phoenix for a while, and then kind of gravitated to the marketing side. And now I'm at a more traditional based school, sports, dorms, all that kind of stuff over the last 25 years.
I love it. So have you always been on kind of the for-profit education side of things, or have you straddled both sides, done some things on both ends of the spectrum?
Yeah, so I was more proprietary at the beginning, which is the for-profit side.
Yeah.
Then I gravitated to trades. In fact, one of my fondest memories is the school I was just at. We did aviation maintenance, the welding, the carpentry, all the skills that were very essential and are very essential to the U.S. and just workforce in general. But I always wanted to get to this. You know what I mean? I think D1 for me will be next, right? Because we're NAIA. But I love it. I love, we get the adult side, which is our traditional based programs. And then we have like our residential school, which is in West Palm Beach, Florida, that has all the sports and the dorms, and you get the young kids over there. So it's like the best of both worlds. So I will say, this is like my unicorn. It's pretty cool and pretty different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you basically have, kind of the marketing tactics that are required to bring in for profit, or what was the terminology that you called it?
So it's called proprietary. I'd say,
Proprietary.
like 10, 15 years ago, the proprietaries, we were actively, what we call targeting and going after the right personas, being, more data driven, where the traditional base of the nonprofits, they weren't doing that. They were, we build it, they
Mm,
will come, very generational, we'll send you a catalog, that type of thing. But now I'd say over the last 5, 7 years, everybody figured out, we have to attract, we have to show lifestyle. We have to give them a reason why, because it's a commodity. Most schools have the same programs. So how do you differentiate yourself? And the way you differentiate yourself is through lifestyle, who they're going to rub shoulders with. Does it cater to their way of life? Florida, great weather. San Diego,
yeah.
great weather. So we try
Uh-huh,
to use
uh-huh.
those things to bring people in. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So, so it sounds like the you call it nonprofit model, nonprofit university. They essentially were able to kind of relax on their laurels a little bit because they, for a long time, could basically just build the platform, and then either through alumni history or brand recognition as a local university, but probably I would imagine the nonprofit status in general kind of maybe helps offset some of that requirement to
Yeah,
run a business, because you're not paying taxes, you're building up an endowment. You have a different stakeholder set than for the proprietary market.
100%.
What do you think is what's one of the biggest challenges, or what do you have to do different as a marketer that those nonprofits don't have to do? And it sounds like you said they're starting to level the playing field now. It's starting to be kind of even more competitive on both
Yeah.
sides of the aisle, so to speak.
It's interesting. Just to go back a little bit, because when I was going to school in DC, you're either going to UVA, Virginia Tech, JMU, and if you were going to a community college, you were like, a dunce. There had a stigma to it. Let alone
Yep.
trades. If you're going trades, you were less than, so to speak. And I think over the years, especially during COVID, or even prior to COVID, but COVID really established a lot of essentialness in our workforce. That stigma broke down, and people are realizing, hey, I can, I've got $100,000 boat outside. I'm an electrician. I've got 3 people working under me. So I think some people started to understand that the proprietary, it wasn't just OJT or apprenticeship driven. You could go to a school. You could choose another way of life. Like my son, I've got one son that's university based. He loves the dorms. He loves the fraternities, loves the sororities. And I got another son who just wants to get in and get out and learn something. So I think what's happening over the 10 years is we've come to realize that there's somewhere for everywhere. Like every place, community college based, trade school based, proprietary, or nonprofit, everywhere has something to offer. But for us, like a Keiser, I dig into more, like I say, of the lifestyle, of geography, of what we have to offer. Because let's face it, here in Florida, you got Florida State, you got Miami, you've got University of Florida, got a lot of good schools that are our peer group, and a lot of them offer the same thing, but they're not Kaiser. And probably dealing yourself is everything's unique. So you have to have those unique identifiers. So our people are unique, or the school that they walk the halls in are unique, or the people that they'll eat lunch with, or go to the game with, or go out on Friday night are unique. So I've really dug in, and the data proves it out that mid funnel activity, which is your social media, organic, SEO, and really managing the content really well. YouTube is a huge, huge source of kind of intake of content for that demographic. So I've gone away from the traditional, spend it and they will come, kind of the McDonald's or a Burger King model, to a more invitation like the Chick-fil-A model, more
Push
by
versus pull.
community. Yeah, you get what I mean. Yeah, exactly. So I've really learned over the proprietary, it was on-demand selling, so to speak. And now I've learned it's more organic by invitation, and not that hierarchy of come here, come here, come here, to that, hey, this is what we got. This is the lifestyle. If you want it, come to the cool table kind of thing.
That's cool. I like that. So, it sounds like you, and I think you are right. Like during COVID, or I think COVID was an accelerator for sure. Parents started to get pissed off that they were sending their kids to these expensive schools and they're on Zoom, for 2 years.
And they
And
saw what they were doing, and then they saw what they were paying for because they were listening to the Zoom call, and they're like, "That's what you're doing."
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean that was probably across the board, whether it was, public schools, like my kids are now all homeschooled and in homeschool co-ops because of that very situation.
bingo.
And I think a lot of parents probably, saw some of the warts come out, by being there with their kids on Zoom school. But I think also just, this generation is coming out of a job market that has less opportunity than ever because of how fast AI is replacing early stage roles. And the idea of kind of, going to a liberal arts school and getting a degree in basket weaving just isn't as appealing anymore. Like people need to come out with hard skills and they need to really know, like, okay, like I want a social contract here. I'm not coming for an experience. I'm not trying to figure out my life. If I'm going to spend money on this thing, I want to know what the
Yeah.
ROI is. So tell me a little bit about the type of student that you try to attract and what are some of the degrees that you put them in and what are some of the job applications and or careers that they can not be guaranteed to have, but some of the things that you
Yeah.
are likely outcomes for them.
Yeah, and I'll go back to one thing you said too. Gone are the days of college is your option or you're less than. I really want to reinforce that because, I was a political science major, and I remember going to the career service office and them saying your job was like limo driver was one of them. All these things. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Or law school. It was either move up, go to grad school, or like limo driver, or it said just sales in general, or something like that. So I think we've done a good job of educating, what I would call our future workforce, but we've also done damage to, all the mechanics they have around them, which is the social side and on demand, and you can really get anything at your fingertips. So for us, going to your question, I mean, we really try to go, if you know Wayne Gretzky and know hockey, we try to go to where the puck's going. We don't try to go where they're at now. So I'm really, looking at different things as far as what my community is looking at. And my community is a wide thing. It's like 19 to 45 because I've got the residents. So I got the beautiful situation of looking at the 19 to 23, which is residential. Then I've got, anywhere from 22 to 45, which is the adult learner. And then I have the professionals with the grad school. So I've got kind of a wide array. But what I try to do is grad school down is kind of tail wags the dog. So that's kind of established stability. And I will tell you, the studies show right now that, and this is interesting, what do you think the number one thing that people are looking for in a school right now?
I think I would say cost is probably high.
It's high up there, but it's safety.
Interesting.
Safety.
Wow.
People
Yeah,
are
I didn't even
so
think.
concerned with their surroundings and what it
Well,
is.
think about, what happened at Brown, this weekend,
Just
right?
recently, just at
Yeah.
Brown or Bondi. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Bondi.
yeah. Or, Charlie Kirk at
Charlie
Utah
Kirk, which is on
State.
UVU campus, which is on Utah Valley University campus. So it's another school setting. So I
Yeah.
think, studies are showing that safety and convenience, those two things are ringing out lives. Like cost is there, but cost is relative if you can deliver on safety and convenience. So before it was like time and money. Who's the cheapest and who can get me out the quickest? Or I'm going to be a 7-year senior, if you get what I mean, which I was.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
days are gone now. So if you can show safety and you can show convenience, and then, oh, by the way, we have the program option you're looking for, generally people are not even traveling out of state for school. They'll stay in their 50 to 100-mile radius if they can service them or cater to them on what they're looking for. So we try to show that. I mean, we try to show, like I say, who you're going to be with in class, who you're going to be learning from a faculty perspective, and what the outcome looks like. I would say the schools that look at the workforce and work backwards to their program offering is the ones that succeed. So what we try to do is look at what the workforce is saying, where the puck is going to be, and then we build programs based on that so that they're equipped. Because at a school, unless you have a huge endowment, which we don't, we're not private and we don't carry a huge endowment. We rely on that, continualness of student population and getting out. So our ability to have graduates that are singing the praises based on their workforce experience comes full circle back to us.
Mm.
If that makes sense to you. So, like I say, we really try to deliver on the promise of workforce, community economic development. We want them to stay in Florida and give that dollar right back to the state as they grow and buy their house, grow their family, and things like that. So we really spend a lot of time on that, and then I show that in story form. So low copy, high visual. I do a lot of storytelling, a lot of first person storytelling, kind of on their turf, like, a simple thing of them sitting at a park bench with a bunch of friends. That tells a story. Or them, getting ready for work and dropping their, child off at school. But we're part of that experience that catapult them in. So I'm really at the end result storytelling and not at that beginning stage of storytelling, because anybody can tell that. I want to talk about kind of that end result.
Yeah, I love
That
that.
makes sense.
So yeah, totally. It makes a lot of sense. Safety, that's something that
Isn't that crazy though?
it's shocking but not shocking at the same time. Like we just talked about a couple of headlines that were just in the news in the last 24 hours. It's sadly the world we live in. What are some of the challenges as a marketer to tell the story of safety without making it feel like you guys are militarizing a campus or having
Yeah.
armed guards on every corner, or relying on, the fact that it's a, open carry state or something like that, and
Yeah, you
everybody's
don't
armed,
you don't have someone showing a bazooka at the front door.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything like that.
That's a story that needs to be told with like a lot of subtlety, and it needs to build confidence, but it also needs to do it in a way that brings home the right messaging. Tell me a little bit about that
Yeah.
journey of how'd you unlock that insight, and what are some of the storytelling devices that you're using to ensure students and parents?
So an example of that, and I use unique, so hopefully this correlates for you. I don't believe in talking about the program. So most schools will work backwards. They'll talk about the program first, their institution second, and then maybe about the human delivering that message. So what I try to do is work the opposite way and use the most unique identifier, which is the person. And so we have a lot of touch points here. There's a lot of interactions before you start school. And we also have a model where, if you remember the word convenience, I was talking about, that's one of the top three is convenience. So we try to do is not those old days where you're rushing to grab your classes and try to get into them. We're very cohort based. Like if you stay and consistently go, you're going to take these set of classes and get out to graduate. And so it's very structured and very guardrail driven.
Yeah,
So
it's
if you
not a jump ball like tickets for a Taylor Swift concert.
No. Or like I remember the magazine I used to get with all the classes, and I'm going, okay, what do I need to take? What do I do? How am I going to graduate? What do I need to do? And then you're rushing to, if you're a junior, get in a little bit quicker than the sophomores. If you're a freshman, you're screwed, trying to find your class or whatever. So we try to take some of that out, because that's not the fun part of going to college. That's not the experience that you really want when you go to a college experience. So again, the unique identifier is the you. So the you is the people. So the high touch point, the personalization, the conversation. So it's not what I would call transactional. It's not bureaucratic. It's very kind of hand holding, but it's very one-on-one. What do you need? How do you need it? Let's see if this has a fit for you. Then the second thing we gravitate to, which is the only other thing that's unique, is the institution. If it's residential based, well, no one else looks like us. No one else has the same paint or the same hallway or the same dorms. So we want them to have an on-campus experience. And I really push that. Just like I was talking to someone earlier that does college tours. They've been on the Survivor Net. They do a lot of that kind of stuff, and they've gravitated to the college tour. And that's what they're trying to show, is the identity and the uniqueness of the institution. So you take the person and the touch points. Then you take the actual physical presence of the school and walking the halls and those uniqueness. And then it's, oh, by the way, we have the program. So all of it kind of falls in place without it being commodity driven, and then it's just price driven or something like that. But for safety and other things, I believe those are ancillary to what you're trying to show. You show that by the way the people are walking around, the way they're smiling, the way the atmosphere is. And so instead of showing a security guard with a gun at the front door, you show a life of leisure and activities that give the perception of the safety side of it.
I
You
like
know what I
that. I
mean? And
like
I don't
that.
know, it's
Yeah.
hard to put into words because I
No, it
would
makes a
say
lot of sense because, like, I thought that would be very challenging, but really, what you're selling is a state of mind.
it's indirect state of mind and lifestyle. Like I say, you'll hear me say lifestyle drives my wife crazy because she's just I overuse the word. But I'm a big believer in not telling someone directly what it is indirectly show them that through the visuals of the atmosphere that you're at. Again, if I walk into a school and there's two security guys with guns on their side, I'm gonna be like, why do you need those? And should I be concerned with it? But if I see people walking around, maybe they buzz a door, but you don't hone in on that. You show some things, then there's an inference of safety within the community that they're at. If that kind of makes sense to you.
Totally. Talking about convenience. So, I never really thought about that as part of college experience. You know, you go to college and it's kind of on their terms, right? It's like, here's when the classes are. I'll save that 9 o'clock class for my senior year when I
Yeah,
don't want to get up and
or
take it.
science.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned kind of the jump ball of like, okay, classes go up and, then there's priority and seniority and all that stuff. Can you talk a little bit about the convenience element? Because I think, I would see that being valuable to young people today, especially ones that maybe aren't ready to just say, hey, I'm going to go for 4 years and just knock it all at once. Or maybe they are, but they're juggling other responsibilities. Like
Yeah,
they've got to work either part-time or full-time while they do it. So talk about the convenience element and how your storytelling around that proof point.
sure. So most of our students, aside from our residential side, have come from another school already that they didn't complete.
Hmm.
So what we try to showcase is financial aid. Very intimidated for a lot of people. It's you're investing in yourself on a dollar amount that's more than a car. You know what I mean? You're investing in a high ticket item that's intangible. They don't get something for it. So it's hard for them to relate to it. So what we try to show is individualism, and you're talking to someone. And one of the things, and this is not to knock on anybody else, so I'll use me in first person and maybe you. When I went to school, I didn't talk to the president of the university. I didn't have audience with a financial aid person. I didn't talk to someone in admissions. I really didn't have a lot of exposure to the faculty other than maybe to a TA or something like that. So
Yeah.
what we do when we show is you see a human in financial aid to help you with the FAFSA, to help you walk you through it, help you understand what the contributions are and how it relates to your long-term investment and what it means when you get out as far as a payback structure or whatever you would need to pay back. We have faculty that are highly responsive and like the open door. And these aren't sales like taglines. This is kind of like our secret sauce
It's like a
and why we're
culture.
here. It's a culture thing. And the president, so each one of our locations, we have 18 locations that are brick and mortar for more of the adult learner. We have a lot of allied health, nursing, anesthesia, and then we got the criminal justice, the psychology, and all the way from associates all the way up to doctoral. And then again, we have the residential. So what we try to show is the ability and access to humans. I don't believe that anybody at a university setting, whether they have a PhD or not, should have low access to the student body. So we really want an open, like me. We call it the Office of the Chancellor, or OOC. It's our corporate office in Fort Lauderdale. It's an open door. Like our chancellor, Dr. Arthur Keiser, he takes calls from students. He'll take a call from anybody, which is kind of funny too, because he gets a lot of like, no one call him for an ad or something like that, because he'll pick up your call. But I mean, it's kind of unique. We have 25 to 28,000 students at any time walking our halls, and they're accessible to the president. They're accessible to financial aid for their needs. They're accessible to admissions. They're acceptable to the program chairs, to the faculty. So for us, we know if you went to another school and left there, there's probably reasons and the guardrails weren't there that you may need. Now, that's not for everybody. I didn't need guardrails. Like, I'll just say I didn't need to talk to finance, but I'm different. Just like every other human being is different. So our school is built on that high level of touch point and accessibility. And we took that same model in our residential session, which I am going to do a shout out, where we have our championship football game. We're NAIA, and we're playing in the championship game in Fort Worth, Texas. We're undefeated this year. We also play in
let's go.
Iowa. Yeah, let's go. We just won women's soccer. We took the ring on that one. I think we have like 31 rings all in all right now for championships. But we took that mindset and moved it to residential for the, those 18 to 20-year-olds, and gave them access and accessibility. And what we found, we have better retention rates. We have better outcome rates. We have people that are surrounded by people that want to help. And it's not a Darwinism of survival to the fittest or something like that. I hope that makes sense.
I love that. I love that. It's funny. I was just on the flight home from the Philippines last week, and I rewatched The Social Network, the Facebook movie. And one of the scenes that I thought was really funny was when the Winklevoss twins petitioned Larry Summers, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, to, bitch about the fact that Mark Zuckerberg stole their idea. And Larry Summers, he's like, why are these students in my office? Like,
exactly. He was offended. He was offended by it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
How did you get in this oak room?
Yeah. And I think, I think you're totally right. Like, I had a great college experience, but it was very much a black box and hands off. And like, it was only within my like deep department, like, sectionals where I ever got hands-on experience with just teachers, really, at the end of the day. And those were some of my best teachers and my best experiences, the ones where I had, direct access to a small group of trade professionals, because I went to film school. So all the lecture halls, when I listened to about the theory of blah, blah, blah movie, had no practicality when I got into the entertainment industry. But the ones where I sat down in a room with 20 people with a real screenwriter and learned how to write screenplays, those were not only formative experiences and learnings, but also the best relationship I ever had with a teacher too. And like the most exciting, the most fulfilling college experience. By
it is, man.
Shot.
And I want to say that does not deteriorate from any other university. Like for you, San Diego State or the UC system or anything like that. The point of it is there's a place for everybody. And, one of the questions I always get, especially, you go to a family reunion, everybody thinks you're an expert, so they ask you questions. You got to find because you're coming to school to get into a career, even an athlete, right? If they're not going pro, they're coming to school to get to a career. That student athlete is just leveraging a talent they have to offset expense so they can get into their career, right? So they're all doing the same thing. So as a consumer, you've got to decide what gets you to the outcome that you need. There's great schools. There's RISD in Rhode Island that's out there. I think Rocky Mountain has a good school. I'm not, SCAD has a good school. I lived in Savannah for a while, but all of them have a different offering and a different way of doing it. But all of them are training people for the end result of workforce ready. So I think that's the point. So I don't want anybody to think I'm knocking anything. It's just where that person is in their life and what gives them the most bang for their buck.
Love it. You talked about testimonials. How do you get great testimonials out of students, that are talking about what lifestyle and what life is like on campus today? And then how do you find and select and get great testimonials out of alumni?
Got to earn it. I mean, one of the things that we need to do better on is our own alum. We've got, almost 100,000 plus, and we don't leverage it enough. I mean, that's a great captive audience, 100,000, right? But you got to earn it. I think it can't be forced. You can't force fun. You can't force a testimonial. And so I believe, kind of like the Chick-fil-A model, people will tell you to go there if they love the place. So everything you do, they got to love the place. And so when you do subtle things, and I call it earning the right. So, when they're leaving your school and they're at the career, the career service realm, or, they're at their capstone or whatever they're doing, you've earned the right to talk to them a little bit about it, right? Or if they're going to graduation and you're talking to their parents, you're earning the right. But I'm not. I don't know why, but I don't like asking for a testimonial. I like gaining the testimonial. So one of the girls that played on our women's soccer team, again, that just won another ring for women's soccer. She came to me and wanted to help give back and mentor the next round of people that are coming to the school. Man, that's a home run. So I'd say to anybody that's building a referral base, especially mortgage industry, I mean, that's what they're built on, all those places. When people start coming to you and you don't have to ask for it, you've accomplished something that no money, it's intrinsic or whatever that word is. That value is really important. So everything I'm doing right now is to build so people will talk about us without us telling them to talk about us. So.
Love that. So you talked about kind of a little bit about the markets in which you guys are drawing from. You talked about this idea that, there's a certain percentage of students that don't have to leave state, don't have to leave their communities. Who are you targeting essentially from a regional perspective? What are the markets? Are you Florida only? Are you Southwest only? Are you doing some national stuff? What does your targeting look like?
Yeah, both. So we do, like I say, we are international. We handle Florida first. I mean, that's our backyard. So the programs that we offer, and we're a highly dense area by population and by our kind of school footprint. So that's one for sure. Some of our programs do have national pull, or anesthesia or anything on the medical side, like chiropractor. Anything like that has a kind of a national pull. But really, what I'm moving towards, and those marketers that may listen to this, and those advertising guys, we're so used to aggregators and pay-per-click and, display, paid search, all that kind of stuff. And we all know AI is changing all of that at a rapid pace. And so what we know as keywords today are not the same search components that these kids are using. I mean, I'm old, and I use pretty much Gemini for everything on my search. I don't even.
Yeah, I think it's 60% of searches don't return with a click now.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm I'm pushing all my chips in to organic social and building heavy content on those channels. Again, not showing what's happening in the class, but showing the lifestyle of being part of the class, if that makes sense to you. I'm highly involved in content right now, and really we're revamping our website, and we want to make our content more accessible through AI. The new term is search everything optimization, because everything is searchable now, and those bots are grabbing it. So we're working really hard on, Reddit's back. I remember when Reddit was cool back in the day, then Reddit was gone, and now freaking Reddit's back again. So
Reddit's back, PR's back, YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of stuff
all came full circle. So I think, and YouTube too, I think I read a report, 87% of video consumption is coming from YouTube. I was listening to Dar Man, or I think that's his name. The big.
Yeah, my daughter stars in his videos.
What a crazy story, right? I mean, he's got a huge warehouse, and he's.
I've been there. I've been there multiple times. He's got 3 warehouses in Burbank that run 7 days a week, almost 24 hours a day.
Who would have thought that from doing what he did? I know he did a lot of things before this, but he did.
They're little skits.
Clip.
They're little. They're actually like it's like, I call it TMZ for kids. It's kind of like these ripped from the headlines little teacher won't take her mask off after COVID. These weird little.
It's like clean Key and Peele or whatever. It's
Totally.
Like the clean version of that. But who would have done that even a couple of years ago? I mean, maybe 5 years. I think he got started in 18, 19. So we're pushing to that. We're going all in on that. I'm a big believer that's where the puck's going. What's in our industry, it's called, in most industries, it's called mid funnel, right? I want to take care of mid funnel and then what is working in those kind of organic ways, and there's a little paid to it, but organic ways, then I'm going upstream, and that's what I want to do on the paid side. So I can bring costs down, margin open, and really attract the people that are searching us out in the meaningful ways that they're doing. Um, I'll also say, I'm trying WhatsApp right now. That's always been an international tool, but it's heavy domestic now. I mean, WhatsApp is getting extremely popular, and you can advertise on it now. So I'm
Yeah,
looking.
I use it for like almost like as if it were like Slack or Microsoft Teams for a few,
Bingo.
like especially for companies that have an international presence. Like I've got clients that sit in Bali and Vancouver and here in the States. So in order for us to all, be copacetic, we have to be on WhatsApp. So it totally makes sense.
And it's a great tool, but see, in my vertical, so I learned a lot from banking, the machine learning, the data, and making decisions. And so that's why, and I'm nothing special for sure. I just have really good mentors. But like the WhatsApp, what is it called? I can't think of it now. Still, what's the thing they do? The gamers, they stream while they're playing games.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Discord.
Discord. So I'm getting involved with that. I'm getting involved with
Smart.
retail. I'm getting all retail. Like if you're this demo, and you can append that data back on public information, and that's where they're buying their jeans. Well, I want to go to them and show them that we got a really cool place if you want to upskill and get some workforce ready. So I'm trying to be different than all the other noise that's happening in our vertical, and kind of go where those certain targeting is. So I've built personas, for the residential. I built personas for the adult market. There was an article in Wall Street just yesterday about 40 somethings. They're all going back to school now. They're trying to retool,
I
trying to
saw
understand
that. I
the new
saw that
economy.
article.
Wall
That
Street.
was a trending LinkedIn article yesterday.
Bingo. So yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm a big LI fan. That's how I met you.
I
So
know, right?
looking at that and how to leverage that adult market, like guys like me who want to upskill a little bit, who want a grad degree, who want to maybe get into like whatever it is. Again, where's the street going, and how can we offer something to deliver on that promise? So
Love it. Let's
yeah.
talk a little bit about what you're doing for content creation because I mean, you sound like the Gary V of educational marketing to me because that's what
I'll throw
Gary's
some
all
words
about,
around.
Well, look, no, it's great. It's great because it seems like you spent a lot of time thinking about it. But like Gary's whole pitch right now is if you're not spending at least 20% of your entire marketing budget, not just your social media marketing bucket, everything on organic social first and using these algorithms to test the waters. Why would you ever put $1 of paid spend behind anything that didn't
Crazy.
perform organically first? So from a content creation perspective, one of the main reasons I took this interview is because when I saw your profile, I saw you were a podcaster, the game. How has building studio space, thinking about podcasting as a way to create lots of content at scale, like how does podcasting fit into your content production strategy?
Love it,
Before we
man.
flipped on the cameras, we talked about the fact that you guys are finishing up a new studio. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we fell into podcasting about 6 years ago, and this was at a previous system. And just like anybody else, we did it because it was kind of cool. It was fun, and it was really to train people because we were spread out, and we started evolving to bring in other people on. So I'm just going to say that. So for me, podcasting, I take the script and I use that for content. I'll keyword it, and I'm actually getting traffic from it. I've got his, like, the Gary V. He's like, I'm all in on what he's saying.
Oh
I don't,
yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I am building a social team for a head down. I don't know if we can, like, I'll say get stuff done. I got my
Yeah.
GSD dudes and women, head down, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and each one of them has a certain content creation based on that demo and how we can hit the algorithm. Like LA now, LinkedIn, I was reading the thing. They want you to create business opportunities. The more business opportunities you make, the more the algorithm is going to spread you with
Interesting.
them views and things like that. So you've got to have you can't just get a hot girl that has 1 million followers and say you have a social, program or a department. So what I want to build and am building, and I believe it's all like I'm betting my whole check on this thing is move away from paid search, display, aggregators, and pump all this money into these social channels that are organic and paid to some extent and have them bury their head. I want them knowing that algorithm front, side, and back. I want them telling me how we should take it. I used to film shows like we're going on maybe an hour now. I'm an old Vine guy, if you remember Vines. Clip them in sound bites, use those sound bites to attract people to it. The brand doesn't make the people in the system. The people make the brand. And if I can show the fun of, I'm not saying I'm fun, but if they're like, well, that's kind of a cool dude and he works there and he's doing this, those other people must be cool. Or the chancellor, wow, I thought he was stuffy, or like the lingua floss going in there. You know what I mean? He's got patches on his elbow. If he's cool, well, those guys must be cool. So everything I want to do on content and what we're building on content is to show these we're cool. Like I go back to lunchroom, you want to be at the cool table. So I want to
Yep.
show them how you're going to get to the cool table. So that's what I'm doing. Like Instagram has its own following. Facebook has more of a buying committee, so to speak, or whatever. I think another Dar man, I was listening to a podcast he did, and he was heavy into Facebook, and he just fell into YouTube. And then he's
Yep.
like, holy crap, look what YouTube is doing now. But you need dedicated bodies that get stuff done. And they have to know the algorithms. They have to know the sequence of posting. They have to know the cadence. You have to comment on it. I'm highly training these guys for like-minded people. So they don't have to be a Keiser person or a Keiser grad, but their workforce. So let's cross post them. Let's cross tag them. Let's make them part of our community. I believe that's how we'll build and get to 2040 and 2050 as an institution, because we're not too big to fail. But if we sit back and say, well, we've been here 50 years, there's nothing can happen to us, I don't think that's the right approach. So we've got to go again to where the puck's going. And I'm all in, brother. I mean, I am
Yeah.
all in on
I
all
love
that.
it. Well, look, like you said, that organic channels that you're building, that you're not renting other people's media, you're building your own, and that's sustainable. And that's something that can have a compounding effect. So I really love that. All right, let's talk a little bit about the students again. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that students are facing these days that maybe didn't even exist 5 to 10 years ago?
Confusion. I mean, honestly,
Mm,
man, it's just, what do I do? You know, I can use my kids. I've got they're we've talked about California, and I know you're based out of San Diego. They anywhere from the west side. They're the same thing. They go on social. They want to get make quick money. They don't understand what it took to get there. They don't understand, should I do a trade? Is it a cool thing to do? Should I go to a university setting? So I think, man, it's just confusion. It's just, what should I do? How can I be an adult? And everybody's got something now. And I'm not here to cast judgment on anything, but there's so many like different, I guess, segments of individuals, and how do you feed into them, and how can you show them what the outcome is going to be? So I think, if it were me and the advice that I give my kids, it's again, what do you want? Like, you've got to look at it. Do you want to be a pilot? Do you want to be a welder? Do you want to do this? Like for instance, CSI, the show,
yeah,
so big, and all these people saw the TV show, but they didn't understand biology, they didn't understand photography, they didn't understand this. So I think, and I think, there's a lot of homeschoolers out there, which I'm a big believer in. I think that's the time, middle school, start to cultivate, what are your interests, what do you like doing, how do you think this fits into your ultimate aspirations for a family, or whatever you want to get to, and then investigate what you want to do. But it's different now than saying, I'm going to UVA and I'll figure it out later. I'll drink some beer, I'll have some fun for 2 years. Then by my junior year, I'll declare. And then by my senior year, let's hope to God I get out, or I'll be a seventh year senior or something like that. I think now it's time to look at what you want to do and what lifestyle do you want to lead. If you're a skier, you may want to find a job that you can do both and live both sides. If you like photography, I hope you get what I mean. I'm not just flopping my
Yeah,
book.
no, I love it, man. I mean, what you're really talking about is, there's this whole adage of like do what you love. And I think to some degree that has to be tempered with the idea of reality. But if it's like do what you love with proper planning, then I think that can be a reality, right? Like if you're into skiing, maybe being a career chairlift guy isn't going to be the thing that does it for you, but you could also reverse engineer your life to make sure your job is in Denver or Park City or somewhere where you can spend weekends
Bingo.
and do that kind of
Or if
stuff,
you're the
right?
chairlift guy, learn the mechanics of that. Learn
Yeah,
how you're
exactly.
making money off the chairlift. Like my son does private airports, right? He's the guy that the jet comes in, he'll get you your rental, and then he tries to upsell you on some crap and not make eye contact with you, or something like that. So I'm like, and he's like, well, just job, it sucks. And I'm like, dude, okay, first of all, you can network. Second of all, you can learn a pretty cool business model and learn how they're leveraging and how are they making money. You can learn the transportation industry. You can learn this. So I think, as a dad, I feel like I screwed up a little bit because it's a little bit later. But to your point, it's not work life balance. I don't believe in work life balance. I believe in just life, but there's so much opportunity. Don't give two craps about the income side of it, which I think the younger generation realizes now. And also the stigma. Don't worry about what John's doing and you think he's rolling a Lambo that he took a picture of someone else's car. Like turn
Exactly.
off your social and not be intimidated because you're not there yet, right? Figure out for yourself if that makes sense to you. And that's where I
I
see the
love it.
connection piece. Yeah.
What is the main thing, do you think, that separates students who thrive in college and those that struggle?
Um, I think it depends on the college they're at, but the biggest thing is probably discipline of their time. I think that's the hardest thing is to figure out when to do something, when to put something off, and how to set a linear approach to priority. That's a skill set that I think school's not hard. It's figuring out how to take that, X number of hour day to accomplish what you need to accomplish and still do the things you want to do as a human being. That's the biggest thing for me.
I love
From
it.
my
Very cool, man. Well, this has been a fascinating
Yeah, man, I love it, Dylan.
discussion. Look, man, no, I'm excited. It's I it's pretty crazy that we haven't talked to any college marketers 220 episodes into the show. But this was a fascinating conversation, and I want to do more of it because I'm really passionate about this next generation. Obviously, I've got 10, 12, and 3-year-old kids coming up through the system, and quite frankly, like when I was growing up, college was not even like you were going. Like that was just the story. Like there, no ands, ifs, ors about it. But I was also lucky, I wasn't good enough to get into uni. So I went to CC for 2 years. I got my foundation. I transferred to UCSB. By the time I got to UCSB, I was in pretty good shape and I got out of school with no debt because I was able to
Such
kind
cool.
of like leverage the city college, transitional approach. And I think, kids really have to look at school as not a time to find themselves, but like as a roadmap to invest in your future. But you got to do it with a lot more intention than I think my generation put
Yeah,
into the
it's just a
conversation.
vehicle.
So,
It's just a
yep.
vehicle. I'll tell you this too, and I'm a firm believer in this. 12 to 16-year-old, that's the most crucial time for decision making. That
Wow.
me, that's the window where you got to start laying some groundwork.
Well, I love it. My kids are actors and actresses, so they have 5-figure bank accounts of their own already. And my oldest daughter is already expressing interest in real estate. And like, I think that's kind of the value of like, some parents are scared shitless about social media and they won't let their kids on it. I let my kids have free reign on social media, and it's a social experiment that could go completely wrong. But my daughter comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, like, how do you get your real estate license? How do you invest in real estate?" Like, she's obsessed with real estate, and it's because of TikTok. Like,
I
I
love
didn't
that,
plant
man.
that seed, you know? So, like,
It's a
there
powerful
are,
tool.
it is. And like the algorithm, like, I know you got to be careful and you got to monitor their time, but there are good rabbit holes they can fall down on their own without my interference, too.
Yeah, I mean, your feed will tell you who you're going to become. I mean, it's just
Yep.
like with us, what you read is what you'll become. But that feed tells you a lot. But I'll tell you, I will say, as a student of the game, I get all my learning from that. I'm just watching those guys and what they're doing, and I just try to do it in my old man fashion and try to duplicate it. There's a lot to be said for social and what you can learn from it.
I love it, man. If people want to learn more about Keiser, where do you want to send them?
Yeah, kaiseruniversity.edu. Really simple. If you're out in Florida, look us up. We're spread out all over Florida. If you ever want to catch a game, hit me up. My podcast, which Dylan will be on, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll shoot.
Let's go.
Just a chat with Charlie, and we'll talk a little bit more there. But like I say, man, reach out. Everybody's accessible these days, so reach out if you have any questions. And Dylan, really, really good to talk to you.
Yeah, great time, man. Appreciate you. All right. And for those of you who are following along at home, if this is the first time you're seeing the show, don't forget to give us a subscribe or a follow. If you're listening to the show, give us an honest review on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening. That's how we find a larger audience organically. And last but not least, if there's a student out there, maybe an adult learner who's getting ready to reskill for the AI age, or maybe just a marketer who you think would benefit from the conversation where Charlie is learning from the internet greats like Darman and Gary Vee and applying them to his world of marketing in the college space, don't forget to share the show. And with that, we'll go ahead and let you go. Thanks, Charlie.